One of my favorite childhood films was Christopher Columbus's Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland. I loved the adventure, the mystery, the final battle between good and evil, and of course the flying squirrel Icarus who followed Nemo everywhere he went. So when we found Little Nemo, the Dream Master, at the rental store, we knew we had to rent it for our NES. We rented that game often and never realized just how hard it truly was. As a kid, I never made it past the 5th level, and I certainly never made it to the ending. Even though this game was difficult, there was something about it that drew my brother and I in to play this game again and again and again. There's so much to talk about, so let's dive in. First of all, Little Nemo was made by none other than Capcom and released in 1990. This was at the height of Capcom's NES reign. Every game with that Capcom logo on it had to be a good one, and I have to say, I don't think they have ever let me down with a single bad game in their NES run. In this game, you play as Nemo, who has been given an invitation by the Princess of Slumberland to come and be her friend. On his way to Slumberland, Nemo travels through different locations, all on his way to the princess's palace. The art style here is fresh, inviting, and vibrant, with 8 different dreams instead of stages that our hero Nemo must explore. The first 7 dreams are set up as a collectathon of sorts. Nemo must find enough keys hidden throughout the level to unlock a door at the very end of the stage. Once the door unlocks, Nemo is able to move to the next area. Some of these keys are hidden in very difficult to find places, and often the keys must be found by using abilities given to Nemo by some of the creatures in each dream. More on that in a minute. Some levels have more keys than needed to pass through the door at the end, and some have exactly the number of keys needed to move on to the next dream. Since you're key collecting, most levels allow you to move throughout them in a more exploratory way than simply making it to the ending. The backtracking never feels like too much because none of the levels are really that huge. You might go up one time to find some keys and then discover you can also go down through another area to find other keys. Along the way, you'll also find health boxes that refill your life meter and small medicine bottles that refill 1 bar of life. You'll also find extra lives hidden throughout each dream, and you're going to need each and every one you can find because these levels ramp up in difficulty pretty quickly and require multiple pass-throughs to learn the patterns and layouts. One nice feature here is the endless amount of continues you do receive. If you lose all of your lives, you'll be able to continue from the beginning of the dream you were last playing. You'll have to restart your key collection, but at least you don't have to go all the way back to the beginning of the game to start completely over. Nemo has the ability to throw an unlimited amount of candy at enemies. The candy will stun most enemies, allowing you to dodge around them instead of running into them. However, sometimes it's easier to allow some creatures to keep moving towards you rather than freezing them with candy, as Nemo's jump doesn't always clear the enemies that are in his way when they're stunned. One of the most ingenious mechanics in this game is the ability to throw candy at certain creatures and transform into them. There are 8 different creatures to transform into, and each one has a specific use that will help you traverse through particular areas of the game. Right from the beginning, you'll find a frog that you can become, allowing you to bounce on the heads of enemies as well as jump much higher and swim more easily. In the mushroom forest, you'll also encounter a mole that allows you to dig through the ground, and a lizard that lets you climb up the walls to reach higher places. Transforming into these animals is a must, as they allow you to reach keys you couldn't previously reach. When you transform, your life meter will often change. Some creatures give you 5 bars of health, while some give 4 and some keep the 3 that you started with. This can help when you're trying to make it through a particularly tricky section with enemies coming fast at you. Some creatures like the gorilla, the hermit crab, the hornet, and the mouse have the ability to strike back at enemies, while others have other abilities such as climbing walls or swimming more effectively. At times, these creatures are used almost like a puzzle, as you gain the abilities from one creature only to unlock a way to another creature, which then allows you to get to another creature. This is especially true in the Nemo's house dream, where you must collect creature after creature to reach different areas of the house, as well as the many keys that are spread throughout the level. Some of the dreams contain auto-scrolling sections, such as the House of Toys, which is one long auto-scroll level where Nemo rides a train to the other end, or the Cloud Ruins, where Nemo goes first up, then down through an auto-scroll area to reach the next section. Once you make it through the first 7 dreams, you'll come to the final stage, Nightmare World. Nightmare World is really like 3 stages in one, each with a final boss at the end of the level. Gone is the key collecting at this point, and instead, Nemo now has the ability to use the Morning Star, a scepter that can be swung by tapping B, or used to shoot a beam of light at a 45-degree angle by holding down B to charge and letting go to fire. This weapon is the only way to fight off these 3 bosses. The first boss is a king penguin who drops bubbles from the sky and sends baby penguins after you. Once you learn the pattern, it's not too difficult to fire the Morningstar beam at the penguin and defeat it. The second boss is a flying manta ray that shoots fire and also zooms around the screen trying to knock Nemo aside. The patterns here are a little more difficult to follow and took me a few tries before I finally figured out what I was doing wrong. Staying in the middle of the screen is the best strategy I could come up with to avoid the manta ray's attacks, as well as send off beams of light to knock it out and defeat it. The final boss is the Nightmare King himself, who shoots lasers at Nemo, as well as sending a strange gaseous bubble floating around the screen after him. The Nightmare King takes a lot of hits with the Morning Star to finally defeat, and I cannot lie, when I finally saw that defeat animation, I threw a little mini party in my chair because of all the headache that the Nightmare King had put me through trying to defeat him. The music throughout the game is never extremely memorable, but it is well done, as most Capcom music tends to be. I didn't find myself humming any of the tracks afterward, but I was never annoyed either by any of the sounds or songs. Overall, Little Nemo the Dream Master is definitely a fun game, and stands with the best of the Capcom classics. However, is this a game you should pass, play, or play again? My rating system is really simple. It's either pass, play, or play it again. Pass just means you can definitely skip this one. Play means you should play it at least once in your lifetime. And play it again means it's worth keeping and revisiting. So should you pass or play on this one? I definitely recommend you play this one. It's not a game you have to come back to again and again, but it is definitely fun and worth any retro gamer's time to play at least once so you can say you did. Especially if you're a Capcom fan from the NES era, this is one you want on your list. This game is certainly one of my favorites, and it is one that I do come back to every now and again, but it's not one I have to play. So, if you're not afraid of any potential nightmares, give Little Nemo the Dream Master a go. Sweet dreams.